then under finance and intergovernmental, 16, 17, and 18 are all related to the new GASB 54 policy. As you know, GASB is the general accounting group that pronounces certain rules, changes every year. It seems like lately, but it really isn't every year. And these are the general accounting standards that they expect every governmental unit to have. And what they have done is they have redefined fund balance. And so if you want to look at the first one, which is the policy statement, we have a financial management policy currently that talks about our fund balance, and that's very important. How much money that you have in case of emergency and what you should have in case of emergency. And our general fund balance, which we used to call unreserved, undesignated, is at 15%. We're not changing the percentages, but we're changing the names of the fund balances themselves. So I think the most important thing is that what we're doing is we're defining even further, when money is remaining at the end of the year, what that definition of those dollars are. And it's probably been a long-standing issue with a number of communities. So I think if you look, there's a page number on the policy, but really the policy's number 33. So if you go to 33-6, that's the 6th page, and there's a bunch of redlining. These are the types of fund balances that we will be designating in this policy. So there's non-spendable fund balance, and that's assets that are not capitalized that must be accounted for. There's committed funds that are there for a specific purpose. There's unassigned fund balance, and unassigned fund balance is the new term of undesignated, unreserved. So this doesn't have any designation whatsoever. It's unassigned. It can be used for any lawful governmental purpose. And that fund balance, we're saying, is at 15%. There are restricted fund balances and some other types. So if you go to 33-7, you'll see our governmental fund types, and you'll see the types of minimum fund balances. Those are really the same percentages, but they're now are called unassigned or restricted. So these are the new names of our fund balances. I think this is very good because it really points out, is Mike in the room? I'm going to use him as an example. He has forfeiture funds that come in from things that happen with criminals. They get money. It comes to him to be used in a certain way. At the end of the year, if those funds have not been designated by him, if they've not been budgeted, they are in a they're in a reserve account, and they're not considered part of our unassigned fund balance. They're assigned. They have a purpose. And so when you open our audit, you will find all these purposes of these dollars. We have been doing that since I've been here in the last 3 years. We have gone through, Sarah and Chris did a revenue book, and we know where every one of our revenues are, and we know what it's supposed to be and how it's supposed to work at the end of the year. And so these are just the GASB designations that you'll see now in our audit. So that is the point of the policy. So you have a resolution approving the policy. There are, as I said, assigned fund balances. And those have to have a person who actually says, yes, that's the correct assignment. And it's not the Board of Supervisors, but an administrative person. So as the county administrator, I'm kind of your top CEO here. I would be designated to make those assignments. And that allows Sarah, Wes, and Craig then to be the people who put all the things in the bucket, and then I'm the reviewer that says that's correct, that's the right places where they all go, and then they're reported out in the audit. The other thing that the board has the discretion to do, and they can commit funds. You can commit funds. So you can have a committed fund balance for a special purpose, and that's the board's discretion. We went through all of your funds in the county, and the only one that now acts like it is a committed fund is the gaming funds for your capital projects. So you have a historical policy that says gaming funds will not be used for operation, we'll only be using them in the capital fund. You can change that at any time, but at this point in time, I wrote the resolution committing those funds to the capital fund. That's what we're doing in 12, but that's then the standard that says those funds can only be used in the capital budget. You can do that with other funds.
What about the money that goes into our health insurance? Isn't that?
That's a designated fund balance. That's what it's doing in the other one. You have a policy that says there has to be a minimum of $1 million there.
Okay.
So we will have $1 million there. So on the page and under the policy where it says all these minimums have to be there, they have to be there. You know, and some are restricted. If it's road use tax, secondary road fund, it only can be in the secondary road fund. If it's the golf fund, it can only be in the golf fund. Most of this is fairly required mechanical, but this lays out, if someone wanted to look at this policy, then look at the audit, they could follow the money. So that's really following the money. And it's a designated, it's just like I say it's like a sieve, it's giving you more layers. And then it reflects what you truly have available in an emergency. So, you know, when we say we're at 15.2% unassigned fund balance, we've met our minimum.
Is it Gatsby that tells us that we assign somebody that supervises, that we're not the ones that oversee the?
Yeah, and usually it could be your finance director, your city or county administrator.
But it's specifically not us.
Not as policymakers. Yeah, unless you want to come in and, I mean, in a place where you may be running the government, like the mayor, a different governmental unit where the mayor actually, not like Davenport, but you know, they're running the government, they may assign themselves a CEO, and then the council would overlook what they do. So but literally, this is, I don't see that part as much of a job. It really goes into those funds pretty clearly. We have a very straightforward auditing procedure and pretty straightforward funds. I mean, you have a lot more layers of funds than the cities have. You have the mental health fund, the general fund, your recording fees, debt service. I mean, those funds are pretty straightforward.
That person would be you then?
Right.
Okay. You will.
And I'll let you know how much work it is.
You'll communicate with the chairman constantly, because we don't want to lose.
We have working papers that, yeah, we present the audit to all of you in a work session. We spend time on it. Oh, we really do. So it's basically Sarah. So those are the resolutions for GASB 54. There'll be one more GASB policy coming forward in the next cycle. And those deal with capitalized assets, and that's all that we have.
Mr. Chairman,
We have a liquor license.
can I ask a couple questions on this matter, please?
Go ahead.
I'm looking at the memo, item number 16, and I'm reading it, and I'm just listening to Dee explain what GSB pronounces certain rule changes, and they expect every government unit to have these, is what I heard you say. What about, I mean, how is that, can you share with that relationship? Is the county a subscriber to GSAB, and therefore that's why you do these things, or it's just because we choose to make these changes?
Our auditors come in and they expect us to follow certain accounting principles,
Mm-hmm.
and those accounting principles across the country are the governmental accounting principles.
Okay.
And so they will look and see if you follow the rules. And what they are is they're regulatory rules to be able to have a more understandable, clear audit of all of the funds and governments. They're all government funds.
And And do any counties subscribe to something other than GASB, like GAP?
I don't know of those counties. that-
Does it, because you're a GSAB, does it mean that you're not part, you don't actually subscribe to the general accounting practices, the GAP structure? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm not familiar with what
Okay.
you're talking
But
about.
that's,
And maybe it's just another term for the governmental accounting.
well, it's general accounting practices, it's a.
That's
the other
basically
standard.
what this
Yeah.
is, but it is GASB.
Okay. So this is an elected thing that this county is just subscribing to these standards?
I would say it's not really elective because the auditor comes in and expects these accounting standards to be in policy.
Okay. And then,
And you'll see that every municipality in the Quad Cities will be passing these particular
okay.
standards.
And then the very last sentence of the memo, page 2 of the memo, it says, "We will present the revised financial management policy and the 2 proposed resolutions to the Board of Supervisors for their consideration before the end of May."
Well, Sarah, yeah,
Okay, so I'm just trying to
Right
understand
here.
procedure here. There's gonna be a resolution presented Thursday? Because we're getting towards the end of May.
it's actually in their packet. It's the following policy I just went over with the board that they would adopt, and the 2 resolutions I just went over with the board.
Okay, and I'm just trying to pay attention to the details here. I see one resolution on the website as part of the packet, but I don't see the other items listed in the last sentence of the memo.
They're included in the packet. I don't know how I missed them. I'll look on the website, but they're included.
Well, I'm looking on the website, they're not there, so I was just hoping to review what you guys are gonna vote on Thursday.
They're items 17 and 18. And then
The financial management policy,
the policies items 16 should be at the end, and then 17 is the fund balance, the assignment fund balance, and 18 is the fund balance.
okay, so the last sentence of that memo is referring to 17 and 18, got it.
Yes, all
Okay.
3 as a packet.
And so what's here is the first thing you're referring to, at the bottom of this. Okay, that was a little confusing, now I understand. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
That's what we have.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Steve. I move for a closed session.
Second.
And moving second, closed section. All in favor, or is that a roll